React plus Cursor AI is the ultimate combo. Being a dev in 2026 is just awesome, right? I mean, there are models, agents, context, skills, rules, sub-agents, commands. Yeah, let's clear that all up. How to set up Cursor AI for React. What are the best models? When to use which mode? And what should you add to your Agents.md? And if you're not a React developer or don't use Cursor yet, you should still watch this video because I will make you a React developer using Cursor. I'm good at convincing, but do you know who's also good at convincing? The sponsor of today's video, TestSprite. AI makes us ship faster, but speed doesn't matter if your code doesn't work. That's why today's sponsor, TestSprite, is your safety net. Setup is damn easy. After you created an account, just add a new API key, then install the MCP right into your IDE, like Cursor for example. Just paste the API key in here and click install. Boom, that's it. Now with the MCP enabled, I can just prompt something like, hey, help me to test this project with TestSprite. It spins up tests, executes them, and pushes the result back to me. So you can see all the tool calls in here. So I can now just configure my testing configuration, and after that I can just fix what fails right from my IDE. I don't need to leave it at all and can just communicate with the MCP. You can start testing TestSprite for free right now with the link tobimay.dev/TestSprite. First link down in the description. Okay, I really have a lot to say in this video, so let's keep it fast paced. First of all, I want to give you some of my settings. So open the Cursor settings by clicking full settings here. And the first setting you might want to change is the privacy mode. If you work for a company that is private and your code shouldn't be shared with other models, for example for training, that's totally understandable. Set your usage to privacy mode. Of course, if you are ready to share the data because you work on open source projects, that's totally cool, that's fine. You improve our experience. Thank you. Then we go to agents, and here we have the default mode. And yes, this is controversial. I set it to ask. The default here is agent. It not only answers your questions, it's also writing code, executing actual stuff. I think that's sometimes problematic. Sometimes I just want to learn. I just want to ask things. That's why I defaultly use the ask mode, and then I opt in into agent mode when needed, because the agent mode is actually way more expensive. And speaking of cost, you definitely need to set this one to always. So you can click this and get more feedback about your usage. And the last setting where I think this is really cool is the command allow list. This one really helps with agent mode because the agent is not permitted to do everything. So here you can add commands that it just is allowed to do, and over the time you can add more in here. So for example, cd, it can move around in my file system, and of course it can always start a build. So over time you might add new things in here so that the agent is not asking you every time, hey, am I allowed to do that? You get the point. Settings out of the way. Let's talk about models. This is an ever-changing topic. The models that are currently up to date might be not up to date if you are watching this video. That's why you have to stay in the loop. For that, I use a website called artificialanalysis.ai. It just gives you a lot of benchmarks with a lot of models. You can always see what is currently actually good and what is expensive, what is cheap, what is good for its price and what's not. You definitely have to take a look at this from time to time. But what really is the best LLM for coding in 2026? I found this article by builder.io, and I think it really comes to a great conclusion because the winner here is Claude Haiku 4.5. And I get it. I use Claude Haiku 4.5 for 90% of things that I'm actually doing. Then there also is Gemini Flash 3, which is pretty good as well because both models are fast and cheap. And yes, they are not the best. The best model from my experience is Claude Opus 4.5, especially for web development and complex things. This one is a killer. The problem here is pricing, and that's why you regularly should take a look at Cursor. Here you have a list of models that are supported by Cursor, but you also find the model pricing here. So you see, for example, that the Claude 4.5 Haiku is priced at $1 per 1 million input tokens and $5 for 1 million output tokens. That is kind of good. Like Gemini 3 Flash is even cheaper here, but if we take a look at Claude 4.5 Opus, for example, it is priced 5 times the amount of 4.5 Haiku. So it really is expensive. That's why you probably should use 4.5 Haiku. And one last take here. I personally don't like OpenAI models. I think I'm just not vibing with them. Let's get to the next session. Rules, or Agents.md, or .cursor rules. There are a lot of terminologies around here, but summarized, they all just talk about static context, instructions that are given to the agents in every chat, I think even in every message. So for example here, these are rules that are applied every time, everywhere. And one funny thing here is that I, for example, have the Next.js docs in here. The whole documentation inside of my project in MD files. Because there was an interesting outcome when Vercel, the company behind Next.js, made some evaluations about the Agents.md and skills. We will hear something about skills in 1 or 2 minutes. But this really showed that Agents.md files are really powerful, and that if you add the whole Next.js documentation inside of the Agents.md, the agent doesn't struggle anymore with Next.js. Everything that you put into your Agents.md, cursor rules, or rules in general, this costs you real money, because that means more input tokens. So you definitely can say the less, the better. And there's a great article here by Matt Pocock, A Complete Guide to Agents.md, which is a really great read. I link it down in the description. You can definitely read through this. But the really cool thing is at the end. There you have a full prompt, a prompt that you can use to make your Agents.md smaller. Because the less context the AI has, the better is the answer. Somehow that's just the case. So with that awesome prompt here, you can take your Agents.md and compress it a lot. So I use this general guidelines here. These are just things I'm always annoyed of that the agent is doing wrong. Like using deprecated files, or ignoring the React compiler, for example, or always using client-side rendering instead of server-side rendering. It really comes down to your use case. If you see that your agent is doing the same mistake over and over again, probably should add it into your rules. And you already see it below, skills. What are skills? Skills is the exact opposite. It's not static context, it's dynamic context. You can give your agent actual skills, like the Vercel React best practices here, or the web design guidelines. These are actual skills I can install to Cursor AI. So there's this really cool website called skills.sh where you can see all the skills out there, how much they are installed. And here you can see, for example, Vercel React best practices or the web design guidelines that I have installed. You can click into them, read what this is all about, and you can just install that with the command here on the top. This is really helpful, and whenever your agent is doing things in these sort of areas, it automatically picks the skill and uses it. But you can also reference it. You can write something like Vercel React best practices. Please improve this project based on React best practices. Like that, move to agent mode and give it a shot. You will be surprised. But I have made a whole video about skills, and especially about this skill, how you can get a better React dev with 10+ years of experience. So if you want to watch that, click right here. Thanks for watching and have a great week. Bye bye.